Hail, you Warhammer players, and welcome to the yard. Today, welcome one and all to your Inland 40K Warhammer podcast about mostly competitive, a little bit of hobby, and we're happy that you're here today. As always, I'm Jeremy Nakano, also All Day 40K on TikTok. With me is Joey. Where can we find?
How's it going? I'm here always. Bettingfield Painting over on Instagram is where you can find me.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joey. That being said, this episode is all about there's always another list because, of course, we're both rethinking everything that we're doing for the Tacoma event. I went to a GT this past weekend. You went to an RTT this past weekend, and it helped to reaffirm our major suspicions. So before we get into that, though, let's talk about what we have been up to in terms of hobby. I have no real updates outside of the fact that I have put a little bit more paint, a little bit more metallics onto my Storm Raven. One day it'll be painted up, and probably when it's, completely useless. But that's what I've been up to hobby-wise. What about you?
Yeah, I've been, continuing work on the display board for my Drukhari. I got the rest of my basic materials in so I can actually finish it now. I did put some edge highlights, as you might be happy to hear, put some edge highlights on my Drukhari vehicles. It was partially on a whim, and then also was these could look a little bit better as I kind of just pushed that stuff forward. Come to find out, that probably doesn't matter now, but it's fine. It's always good to go back and improve on stuff you're still playing with. So,
yep, totally agree. We had our events, of course. Let's go ahead and jump into your RTT, Joey.
Yeah.
How'd it go? What'd you do? What did it for? Let's go round by round.
I'll put it out there first off. It didn't go well. I played what was going to be my Tacoma list for Drukhari. A pretty decent, I think, all-comers list. I've felt very confident with this list for 5 or 6 games that I've played with it now, until this weekend. And so we'll go into the actual round breakdown, but I got Imperial Knights round 1 and Chaos Knights round 3. This is the only time this entire edition that I have been afraid of the Knight matchup.
Wild. Okay. Why is that?
For my list specifically, the way that I build Drukhari lists, Imperial Knights a little bit more than Chaos Knights, because Chaos Knights were previously 13 War Dogs, and that's just volume that is sometimes difficult to get through. But on the Imperial Knight side of things, that matchup was as close to an auto win as I think you could get. It just was really never a concern. The only time that it had ever been a concern was the GT last December when I played Cody, and that was just, as you have played him and seen, that was just an absolute dice debacle. And there was a lot of things in that went the way things should never go. And that's fine. And I still won the game. It was just a weird, some weird interactions in that game. But that's the only time that, this edition playing Drukhari, that I've played against Knights and didn't feel 100% in control the entire time. So
looking at the
this
round 1
weekend, I played Cody. Yeah. I played Cody again. Obviously, Imperial Knights don't have new rules yet, but what they do have is points reductions that were absolutely insane.
Let's take a look at his
Cody
list.
Yeah, let's take a look at his list here. So Cody had...
Well, this is your list.
I guess... Oh, don't look at my
list.
Yeah, you should click on the winner's list. And I will say that this game was super close, right? We see 89-91. It was unbelievably close. I think 3 different instances that are directly pinpointable where I could have won this game. This game is definitely winnable, but with the points reductions and the bodies that they have gained, the math is astronomically different than it was before. So
I need to change which screen I'm sharing. Hold on.
yeah, so as you bring it up, I'll talk about it. So Cody brought 2 Knight Lancers and 2 Knight Gallants. He was playing Noble Lance, obviously. One of his Gallants had Unyielding Paragon for -1 AP, which feels bad. And then he was the same loadout. Yeah. Reaper Chainsword, Thunderstrike Gauntlet, Storm Spear Rocket Pod, 2 Lancers, and then he was a Helvrin, a Moirax, a Warglaive, and an Eversur Assassin. The Eversur Assassin and the Moirax both were just admittedly fun picks for him, which is fine, I guess. The Moirax as a joke pick is annoyingly good into Drukhari. Just AP0 doesn't really matter when you just wound everything on 2s. So
It's true.
downside to toughness 3 armies. What are you going to do? So we played that game. It was a fantastic game. Cody is a joy to play against.
Yeah, super nice guy.
He rolled as he always does.
Like a god?
Like a god. And we were joking about it the whole time. He was like, I'm sure Jeremy can't wait to hear about this. I was like, dude, he's like, I'm never going to beat these allegations. I was like, no, you're not. There were at least 5 different times in that game where I did 3 damage and he made 3 field no pans on his 6.
Oh, that's rude. That's super rude. Okay.
So the big difference here for points changes on top of just having a throwaway Eversur Assassin for no reason, it's 4 big knights. And 2 of those are Lancers that have a 4-up invul, so he doesn't have to spend his CP on rotate ion shields. It just doesn't matter. And then one of them is -1 AP, which means it's doing effectively the same thing. Because Dark Lances are AP3, so they go to AP2, and he still doesn't care. And it's unbelievable. The math before didn't really matter because Imperial Knight lists were like 2 big knights, 5 or 6 dogs, or maybe 3 big knights and 3 or 4 dogs.
Yeah,
and that was
it was
okay.
Reasonably costed.
Right. And that was okay. You kill a couple, or you kill the war dogs, at least for me, right? Like I kill the war dogs. He's got if it's 2 big knights, he just can't be everywhere and he can't play the game anymore, so it's fine. If it's 3 big knights, that's fine. I still have to kill one of them. That's not a big deal. Now that math is completely different, where like he just ran at my face with one of the Lancers. So he put one Lancer on my natural expansion, and he put the other Lancer in the middle.
Smart.
And so there's just realistically nothing I can do. I did lock up the one in the middle for like 3 turns because as it turns out, a Lancer has a really hard time killing 6 grotesques in combat, but that's pretty much it. Like they weren't killing him either; they were just existing.
Right.
I don't auto see him. It's just it's a really bad time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so tough where it's this thing now. You have to kill the armigers because those are going to be in your face. And we talked about it as the game was going on. Like on turn 2, I think I had killed all of the armigers and the assassin. And he looked at me and he was like, "Oh shit, this is really bad. Like this is not good for me." Because he's still in old Night Brain. So meanwhile, he had 4 big knights, one of which was in his deployment zone on his home objective, still behind a piece of terrain.
Yeah,
and the other 3 were just
toughness.
Yep, and the other 3 were just on all 3 middle objectives. And I think one of the Lancers had lost maybe 6 wounds. And I was like, dude, I don't think it actually matters, really. Realistically, this is not enough. Obviously, it proved that was the case. It's just the math is so different when there's an entire extra body. And him and I talked about it at pretty good length after the game of like, we're very aware that this was not an optimized list. One of those gallants should be Canis. That assassin shouldn't exist. The Moirax should be another Warglaive. potentially the other gallant is a different knight completely, and there's a lot that could have changed. So even just looking at from an unoptimized list standpoint, there was not a single point in this game that I felt like I had anything under control at all. And then we tack that onto the fact that I went first.
Oh yeah, that makes it much worse. What was the mission?
It was, let's see, the mission was, we're going to bring this up here. Take and hold.
So just some Warhammer-esque Warhammer?
Yeah, just some Warhammer, you know? Let's look at what it actually was. Take and hold tipping point.
Okay, yeah.
So, rough. I drew 3 challenger cards. I scored all of them. That's pretty much it. I scored 40 primary, like somehow, but I mean it's take and hold, so my home objective is safe. Yeah, there was no
how many
point.
knights did you end up killing?
I killed all of the armigers and 2 of the big knights.
Okay. Yeah, that's rough.
So
if you can't kill more than 2 of the big ones.
Yep. And we had talked about it. He had one of his gallants at the end of the game. He had a gallant on the middle objective with like 4 wounds. If I had killed it, I would have won the game. There was a couple of instances like that. The wound increase, I will say the toughness decrease doesn't matter.
Not for your army.
They are so good. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like
it's
even
true.
I have 12 Dark Lance shots in this list, and even with Dark Lance's wounding on 3s, when you have 3 knights that have a 4-up, it doesn't matter.
For sure.
So
yeah, that sounds like a rough
fighting
one, man.
that battle. It was rough. It was tough. And I will say so I killed both, I killed 2 of the big knights, and then 1 was in killable range. So the 3 big knights that I wounded on 3 individual turns, all of them had, like each one of them individually at one point or another had 4 or less wounds remaining, which means that if they had their original wounds, they would have been dead.
Crazy.
So it's huge.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
The wound chain, it's such a fascinating shift to see knights, what they did to knights. They really think that -1 toughness plays that big of a deal. It's just bananas to me.
It doesn't. Yeah. And him and I, we talked about that too. I think like the toughness reduction is fine. Toughness reduction and wound increase would have been okay if the points didn't also go down.
Yeah. Instead of the triple nerf happening, they got both sets of knights got the triple buff, and it really feels like the beginning of 10th edition, where you just have armies that are just fucking ridiculous to deal with, and you have to build your entire strategy around going into them. And this is just when we enter open season for all these 40K events. And it's just going to be a replay for the next 3 months of just a bunch of goddamn knights at the top tables being beat out by the really good Deathguard players in the end. That's it. That's what it's going to be in every game. And everyone's just going to be sad. And I really hope that they resolve these points.
Yeah, we're replacing a beginning of 10th edition where those 2 armies were Eldar and GSC, and it's just being replaced with Knights, Chaos Knights, Deathguard.
Yep. And it's sad. It's really sad to see.
It's such a weird place because I want to see Knights exist. I want to see them do well. I don't want to see them suffer. They have suffered for a little bit, but
no, Imperial Knights have been fine.
There's a line, and so for Chaos Knights, I will say, and we'll get there.
Chaos Knights have been in a rough spot, but Imperial Knights have been absolutely fine. There was no need for a point change. There was no give them a codex, give them things, but why reduce their points to that degree? That is such an egregious overlook. It's crazy. It's unreal. That they let that happen.
Wild. Yeah, it's a winnable game and it's a winnable matchup, but it went from being nearly an auto win to a stressful game of Warhammer the entire time, which is fine. I'm not against that, but I have to take into consideration that this is going to be one of the most popular factions at the Tacoma Open.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on. Let's get into game 2.
Yeah, so we go to game 2. I get matched up against Joshua playing Emperor's Children. It was fine. It was he was playing a list for fun. He had Fulgrim, so he was effectively playing at 1,700 points against my 2,000, and that's fine. Fulgrim did kill stuff. He killed 2 Talos, a Venom, another Venom, and some Witches, I think. Not a big deal. I deep struck my all 10 of my Scourges in the same spot, which is something that I very rarely do. And then they shot at him. They whiffed, and then with their shoot and scoot, I just screened out everything, so he didn't have anywhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I killed him on the next turn because he didn't have any good targets left. It was 3 Mauler Fiends, Haywire, so Talos and Dark Lances.
Yep. So Demon Prince, Fulgrim, Lord Exultant, Lucius, 2 Infractors because of course, 2 Tormentors because of course, 2 Rhinos, 3 Mauler Fiends, and 2 sets of Noise Marines.
Yep. So minus Fulgrim, a fairly normal list.
Yeah, obviously. Fulgrim being there doesn't exactly help anyone's case because Fulgrim just isn't very good. But yeah, it's a Marine matchup, and you just have you're strong into Marine matchups in general with Drukhari. Was there anything that might have thrown you off?
I mean, he went first, and this was linchpin sweep and clear. So he charged me with Fulgrim on turn 1, which is fine because I gave him trash. And so Fulgrim was in my deployment zone turn 1, still there turn 2, and so there was that like slight concern of like most of the time Fulgrim isn't going to do anything unless he gets to the spot before he dies, and he got there, and I was like, okay, now it's a little weird.
Okay.
But I have like, there's so much weird shit of like Talos Flamers, Grotesque Flamers, Venoms with 6 heavy bolter shots are just wildly effective at killing all of his normal bodies. And then my Haywire is not good at Fulgrim, so my Haywire goes at Mauler Fiends, kills the Mauler Fiends, and then all of my Dark Lances go at Fulgrim, and we move on. It was pretty straightforward. There really wasn't much to be done about it.
Much to worry about, yeah. And that's just one of those things. Anytime you are going to play into a matchup where you're just stronger, you don't necessarily learn a ton. I have at least one of those this weekend, so we'll get into kind of that same mindset there. But let's jump into round 3, where you got to visit the other side of it. Before you start, let me go ahead and just quickly talk about the list.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So
this list is disgusting.
You faced Paul.
I played Paul.
One of my favorite opponents in the area. Very good player. So what he brought was a Atropos, an Abominate, a Rampager, 2 Huntsmen, 3 Carnivores, and a Stalker plus Nurglings. Oh, this list looks familiar. Overall, how do you feel about it, buddy?
God, this list is so good. So he brought also his enhancements. So he's Lords of Dread, which is the sticky OC. It's the sticky detachment, which a lot of people online have kind of shit on. This detachment's amazing. At stratagem, I understand against some armies it won't be that effective. MSU Drukhari, I could not take objectives back from him.
No way.
It's not a thing that I can do. It's unreal. So especially with he's got the Abominant, which does mortals in the shooting phase, and then he's got the new and improved Dread table, so you're taking Battle Shock if you're below starting strength, and then he took the special part of it that if you fail it, then you take D3 mortal wounds as if he were demons. So he's got mortal wounds all over the place. As soon as he kills 2 or 3 dudes, there's no hope of me taking that objective back.
No, absolutely not.
Because it's OC5 and sticky, but the way that sticky is, like, the way that sticky reads, you have to beat the OC to take it back. So I have to put OC6 on the objective, which I just realistically can't do. Venoms are 1. Grotesques are 2, but they're going to die. Talos are 3, but again, Paul's a fantastic player, so they're dead. I ended up, it felt so bad. I deep struck my Archon with the 5 Incubi on his home objective to put 6 OC on it and take it. And then they stayed there to do another action next turn. They did actually nothing in the game except try and score points.
Big sad.
It was unbelievable. So this list, and like, I will say it's 78-90. I don't feel like it was that close at all. In emotionally or mentally, like while I was playing that game, I felt like I was 100% out of control, and I was just along for the ride and trying to score as many points as I possibly could, because there at no point in the game did I feel like it was even possible for me to win.
Wow, that bad, huh?
It was unreal. Like, I described it to my team as though, like I said, I got my shit pushed in, and if you look at 78-90, it doesn't look like I did. But just the presence that was there, he played it. I mean, he played super smart. He's played this army for pretty much this whole season. So he's very comfortable with him. He knows what he's doing. The 6 Nurglings went exactly 9 inches from my deployment zone. We were playing Scorched Earth and whatever the corner deployment is.
Crucible? Is that Crucible?
No.
Search and Destroy.
Search and Destroy. Sorry, the other one was Crucible, where it's 9 from the center. That was Crucible. So this one's Search and Destroy, the halfway point. So he strung the 6 Nurglings out, which cover more than half of the board. He put them exactly 9 inches from my deployment zone, which means I don't get to go anywhere on turn 1. I put the Mandrakes on the other side of it, which doesn't really matter because the Nurglings already went down. He won the roll off, so he deployed first, which makes perfect sense.
Gotcha. Yep.
He played it as you should. Like, all Chaos Knights play a little bit differently. They're more aggressive with their dogs, and then they do things with the big knights later. So he was pretty aggressive. He put, I think, four of the dogs pretty much like past the midboard on turn 1. He put the Atropos and the Abominate at the midboard, all on turn 1. And so the way that I play the game doesn't change. It's always been the same, which is if they have big dogs or if they have big knights, you have to kill the dogs first because they're in my face. And then after I kill the dogs, I have time to kill the big knights because there's probably only 2 of them. Most of the time there was only 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case anymore. So I kill 4 war dogs in 1 turn. That's great. That's a great turn. He has 3 untouched big knights and proceeds to kill everything that I have that has the capability of consistently killing big knights. And so by the time I kill the war dogs, I can't realistically kill the big knights, and they get to do whatever they want. The downside previously was that he can't be everywhere at the same time, but with Sticky now you can. So
Gotcha.
He stickied his home objective, he stickied 2 midboard objectives, so there's only 1 objective that I'm getting to score. And it's just at no point did I feel in control at all. That game was unbelievable. Yeah, it was just so good. He pulled and scored Mark for Death on turn 1.
Oh my god. How do you manage that? Was it just because of indirect or what?
Part of it, yeah. I forgot about Havoc launchers. But even then, it was so wild. Like I don't know. I guess cool thing that happened. Drazar, it was not the Abominate, the Despoiler. I charged him. No. Yeah, I had charged him, fought, did a little bit, not too much. Drazar was a surprising MVP this weekend. Damage 3 dev wounds is just good.
That's just good, yeah.
So his turn comes, or whatever, I don't remember. Anyway, he was fighting first is what happened. And no, he charged me, that's why. He charges me, he fights, I pop Fight on Death with the Incubi and Drazar. None of the Incubi pass, which he tank shocked, so he killed like 4 of them before he got there. So the one or two incubi that was left didn't fight. Drazhar successfully fought on death.
Okay.
The knight was on the spoiler was on 10 remaining. Drazhar killed it on death, which was insane. It was 3 6s, so 9 dev wounds, and then 1 armor save because he wounded on a 5 because it's strength 6, and then he failed it. And so it was 12 damage and he died, which was wild.
Nice.
But that was the, I guess, the feels good for the game, because it was so,
just
that
a
game
brutal
was
match, man.
It was a brutal match. And I think that, I mean, they're going to be equally, like, Chaos Knights are equally popular to Imperial Knights, if not more so, because they have been bad for so long. I think people are excited to play them as them being good now. If they played Lords of Dread, I legitimately do not know how to win that game consistently without just weird dice rolls. From a tactic standpoint, I don't know how to win because I cannot take those objectives back.
Okay. So quick question. It's your first time in a while you've probably gone 1 and 2, huh?
It's my first time at Real Deal since I've gone 1 and 2.
Nice. And that's crazy. And that's a good little, like, reminder and shakeup that this meta is totally fucked and you have to rethink everything.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, two of my losses are against 2 of the players that I have said I think are in the top 5 in the area. So
yeah, they're good players.
Yeah, it was absolutely wild.
Excellent. Well, we'll before we get into more concerns about the night meta, let's go ahead and jump into the PNW Warlords Tacoma Open Prep GT, where I went on the weekend 3 and 2, and it was the sad 3 and 2 where I lost twice on the first day.
So it was your 3 and 2.
Yeah, I went 3 and 2.
No, like that's the way that you normally go 3 and 2.
That's rude. I don't like that. I don't like how you said that.
That's what you said about Storm.
Yes, this time around, my 3 and 2 was because I submarined. But I have a pretty good reason for submarining at this event in general. Number one, I changed up my list for this one. At the Mountain West GT, I brought what I consider to be one of the better Wrath of the Rock lists available. Which is, you have, like, I had the knight. It's very similar list, but I changed it out to bring number 1 Samael and bikes, which is a terrible choice, effectively. The next thing I chose to bring also was I did not, or better yet, I did not bring the chaplain with the Terminators, with the Deathwing Knights, and I realized how big of a buff that is. That +1 to wound on Terminators that don't automatically wound vehicles on 4-ups. And so, like, those are the major shifts. I didn't have Stern Guard, so I lost a few pieces to try that big, like, assassination missile with Samael.
Right.
I will tell you this right now: if you're going to have Samael on your list, who is a good playable character, you need to play him inside of Stormlance or the Gladius. If you don't play him there, you don't have access to +1 to wound. And without +1 to wound, he just kind of bounces even at 7 strength. And you need him to be able to go into a big target and just burn it down. So anyone playing Dark Angels, Samael is cool in specific detachments with access to +1 to wound, to make him capable of wounding on 4s rather than 5s. There was one specific game where I rolled 4 6s on the hit, had 8 dice, and landed 3 wounds. So
goodness.
On top of so it was like 14 dice, three wounds on 14 dice, and it was just like the most painful thing in the world. That said, let's talk about game 1. So my first game, let me go ahead and share it up here, was into Tim Grant playing Deathguard. Tim Grant, in case you don't remember, Joey, is the guy who won Storm of Silence.
Yes, he also won this, did he not?
And he also won the event. So he absolutely shellacked me this game. He did it was like 91 or 90 something, 94 to like 34. And it from the get-go, it was rough. Because number one, this is actually my first game into Deathguard since they've been busted. And effectively they have too much stuff to start. And they don't need that much stuff. And I can attest by that by him choosing to or forgetting that he had an extra 4 Terminators that he just forgot to drop. Because like he was so comfortably in the lead during this game. Also, it is another matchup where this army's rules kind of just turn off your rules as a tough infantry army. It just eats it. So I went about this one as like, I'm going to step on all the rakes. I'm just going to like see what I can do and what I can't do. I approached it as like, this is a stress test. Let's see how it goes. And it was a little stressful, but like it was fun. Tim, number one, is a lovely opponent. He knows the game so well. Like usually I'm the person who's like, oh, you know, it's this, that. Like, but he's so much faster that he just kind of flies through. He knows exactly what's happening. He knows my data sheets better than I do half the time. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like it's almost surreal because usually I'm that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a fun game. I learned a lot about Deathguard and that they need a nerf. Over at Mountain West, I overheard some people talking about that Deathguard isn't that good. People are just bad. And I think the Deathguard players out in that region might not just be that good. Because it is painfully good how good that army is. And more than that, like just the sheer amount of like what you can do with the Champions of Contagion list. Like you get to switch up your contagion. I think that's the detachment rule that makes it awesome. And just burn people down. It's an exceptional list. He's got a ton of games on it. He breezed through every game but the last one, and I'll tell you who he played into. It was Imperial Knights, and that's the only reason why I didn't breeze through it. So we'll get away from this boring game and move into the next game, which was a little bit boring for my opponent. I played into John Smith. John Smith was running a Tau list. John Smith was also playing with his son next to him at the table, and his son was rolling dice and stacking them in little pyramids and stuff. But it's always a really fun time when you get to play with someone who has their kid usually, because you shake the kid's hand and like you get to cheer for the kid when he's rolling dice, and it's cute. And you know, generally you're going to win that game. I knew I was going to win this game. I looked at the list. It was trip tied. So Commander Farsight, Commander and Enforcer Battlesuit, Fire Knife Battlesuits, Sunforge Battlesuits, Ghost Keel, Ghost Keel, Ghost Keel, so triple Ghost Keel, 2 Hammerheads, trip tied, and 2 sets of Stealth Battlesuits. Playing Montcalm.
I was going to say that's the big thing too. I think you can look at the fact that he's playing Montcalm and you're playing Dark Angels and already know you're going to win.
Yeah, like I just had an overwhelming advantage from like a rule standpoint.
Yep. He just has to play way too aggressive.
Exactly. Like it's one of those things that happens. It's perfectly okay. It is a normal thing. So let me go. So I win 84-42. It was hot. It was sweaty and like physically hot and sweaty, not like that kind of game. But we got through it. Which then leads us into the third round, who I play into a man by the name of Josiah. Josiah, I hope you're listening to this. Shout out to you, buddy. We had a really fun game. So this is where I put on like my super salty pants as we played, but like in the fun, I'm getting mad and bitching kind of way. Like that's just one of the ways that I express a frustrating game. And this is where I learned that World Eaters are amazing. World Eaters are a great army. Like Berserker Warband is so objectively good. Like people have been sleeping on this detachment so much. Let me talk about this list. Number 1, we've got Karn, we've got Master of Executions, we got Slaughterbound. Cool. We got 2 sets of Khorne Berserkers, 2 packs of 10. All you need are 10. They're amazing. We have 1 Chaos Rhino, 3 Spawn, which probably are the sleeper unit. 1 Chaos set of Chaos Terminators, which did a good job. 1 8-bound, 1 Exalted 8-bound, 2 Forged Fiends, a Hellbrute, and 2 sets of Jackals. So, why is this list so good in the Dark Angels? Number 1, it doesn't matter that you reduce their damage from 2 to 1 on Deathwing Knights when they throw like 180 attacks at you with a brick of 10. And it's wild. More than that, they want to go first. Especially when you're running 3 sets of Chaos Spawn, because those things will lock you in your deployment zone almost immediately. They have a scout move at the beginning of the game, and they're incredibly fast. And when they attack, they roll d6 plus 5 number of attacks for a 90-point unit or 80-point unit on 2 of them. And they have dev wounds when they attack. Just here's an extra 2 damage. Like, you don't even get to roll against this. It's not hard to defend against the attacks unless they're just bypassing your saves. So if they go first, they can just straight up lock you in your deployment zone. I had both of my scouts locked up turn 1, which is crazy. Now let's talk about what really makes this list these things crazy is the Forge Fiends. Forge Fiends are objectively broken inside of the Berserker Warband with the new setup. So let's just talk about why. We have they have the 3 cannons, of course. So it's 3d3 shots plus 1 for rapid. It's a 36-inch range, so no problem getting rapid. And then they also re-roll all hits against the closest eligible target, which gives them one of the best, if not the best, Overwatch in the game. It's absolutely insane because it's all AP3 3 damage stuff. You're rolling on it like you're rolling roughly the number of attacks that these Chaos Spawns are putting down. And he overwatched every turn and never once paid for it. Like, it was crazy. Beyond that, the like Karn with a 10-man, MOE with a 10-man, they are just so objectively destructive that the damage is just off the chains. Like, I watched him in game 4 or game 5, I think. One shot a land fort with Karn and his squad, which that shouldn't happen. It's absolutely disgusting. But it was a fun game. Josiah, dude, we had a great game. Super fun. I'm glad we got to sit down and play. He was like, he played a bunch in 7th edition back at the original Haven, apparently. And now lives out there and just got back in 10th edition like 3 months ago. Dude's putting in work from what I'm told, like 4 games a week or something like that, and just crushing it. So welcome back to the Hobby, Josiah. Congratulations on beating me and Drew at this tournament. Drew helped him out just a little bit. I will say that. Good job, Drew. Thanks for always being a good opponent to people. But yes, I really think World Eaters are being slept on, and it's another reason that I am reconsidering Dark Angels as a whole. Because there's going to be a ton of World Eaters players there. You know it. It's just such a popular army. And they have options, and they all work, and they're strong. So, yeah, that was my game 3. The end of the day, we went and got, like, I went and got a steak and had a couple of beers and just like died in my room because we drove out at like 5 o'clock in the morning, got there, played 3 games, and then went out to dinner. And it was rough.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
It was tough. It wouldn't have been so bad had I brought my original list. I think that would have been a huge help. Okay. Let's talk about game 4. Jumping into game 4 now. So this is when I played World Eaters yet again. I did win this game. So it's closer. I understood the perils much more, but Chris's list just wasn't objectively as good. It was a little more like flavorful, and he was just trying different things. But we still, Berserker Warband, we had Karn, we had Executions, we had Slaughterbound. We had Berserkers, 2 sets, makes sense. We also had 2 Rhinos instead of 1, 2 sets of 8-bound, 1 set of Exalted 8-bound, 2 Forge Fiends, of course, 3 Hellbrutes, and Jackals. Hellbrutes are, I think 1 is a really good choice. Like Josiah, because you can like trap people with a Hellbrute really easily by making sure that the unit that is going to charge into them is one that's not generally going to kill him, so that he could fight twice in a single fight phase. And just the fact that it's tough, it's a T9 thing that with a, you know, I think it's a 2-up save, just tough to bring down. What's crazy about this game is that I know that I am probably a better, more competitive player than Chris. Respect, Chris. You're a good dude. But I barely win this game. Because number one, the army just kind of mashes Dark Angels, number one. But number two, it's just a really good army. Like, really crazy good army. Like, play World Eaters if you're a World Eaters player. Please don't play Knights. Anyway, get through this game. I get a little hot this game because I came in like I was like ready to go. I end up calming down as the game goes on. We both, kind of grate on each other a little bit, but had a blast, Chris. I do hope we get to play again in the future, and I hope that you make me eat my words that I am a better player than you, because I'll deserve it if you do. But yeah, that was round 4. And then we get into round 5, and I got to play somebody who was actually at our team's tournament coaching for the team that won, so the Deep Strike gang. So Griffin was the guy with the clipboard walking around, and he was playing T-Suns. And I win this game because Dark Angels, specifically Wrath of the Rock Dark Angels with the Lion, beat Thousand Suns Grand Coven in every sense of the word. I am 100% against the army, and at 3 totally different levels of talent, where we have Griffin, who gets to play into top 200 players in the world on a regular basis. We have, and then my 2 opponents at Mountain West, who were both like people who were knowledgeable and sharp-minded players. This list was a bit different from those lists over at Mountain West in that there was no Magnus. In fact, I think this is the better version of the Grand Coven list, where you have a Demon Prince who is just like this scary thing who will kill whatever it touches, and it's fast. Couple of Infernal Masters, 3 Sorcerers, 1 with the Umbralific, a Crystal, of course, and then we had a ton of Rubric Marines, which are still insanely good. Like in Grand Coven, man, they're so good. They just melt things down. The 2 Rhinos, 3 Mutalith Vortex Beasts. He had a pocket one that just kind of popped on the table later. And then he only brought the 3 Zangor Enlightens with great bows. Mostly, they were just point monkeys. And then the Zangors just kind of sat back most of the game. I win this game fairly comfortably. It's not like there was a huge margin, but like in going into 5, it was just like, we looked at his stuff and it was just like, okay, in the perfect scenario, you get closer in terms of diff. And he managed to get his perfect scenario where it kills the Lion, takes the middle. Like I failed 2 battle shocks, which helped. But yeah, like it was overall a really good game. It was actually probably my favorite game of the weekend, was sitting down and playing with Griffin, because like it was very strategic. And those are generally the games that I appreciate the most, are like the hardcore sitting down and like talking back and forth. If I go here, we do this. And it's just the clear intent game across the board. And it was just like so relaxing. So relaxing. It was a great way to end the tournament. Big congratulations to Tim, who did win, of course, the event. And he snuck by Logan, who was playing like 3 Atropos. Going into the tournament, and it was crazy. Wyatt finished 3-2, and Drew finished 3-2. So all of us that came out from Spokane to hang out, we all had 3-2 records by the end. Big props to Wyatt, who managed to beat Nick Fromm. Like awesome, really well done. And he also got to play into James, which good for you. Like you get to play into those top level opponents, and it's a really good reminder as to how like far you are from some of those players.
Sure. Yeah.
From a general standpoint. And yeah, it was a really objectively fun tournament. It was a little, like I said, hot weather, air conditioning wasn't perfect, and it was a small store, but we packed it in and had a great time in the end. And yeah, finished 12th overall. Not unhappy with the result one bit, but it helped reaffirm what I want to do going to Tacoma in a couple of weeks here. So that said, let's talk about what we're going to do in Tacoma. So Joey, based on your stuff, or I'm sorry, before we do that, do you want to ask any questions about my matchups or anything of the sort?
No, I mean, I think they're pretty straightforward. Like the World Leaders makes perfect sense. And I'm sure that Mission had a lot to do with your game with Josiah as well. It's just so good. Unfortunate that you got 10 round 1, but there's not much that can be done about that. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about what we're bringing to Tacoma next, and then after that, we'll jump into why we're making the choices that we are. So,
Yeah.
go ahead, man. So, what are you taking to Tacoma and why?
So, oh man, this RTT was Saturday. We ended pretty early. We ended at like I think I was done with my game with Paul at like before 6:30.
Nice.
I spent the rest of Saturday evening until I went to bed, and then I spent pretty much all day Sunday in just the existential crisis 40k tank of like, well, shit, what do I do now?
Right.
What can I do? How can my list change? What, like, if my list changes, which I did change it, but like, even looking at it, it was like, okay, if I change my list to this, what, like, where does this math actually change? How much does it actually matter? Just having seen the output and the just what realistically is going to happen. Like, I ended up putting the third unit of Talos in because they're just the best thing that I have at dealing with knights. And even if I put the next one in, we're talking in a perfect world, one unit in a shooting phase does 12 mortal wounds. That doesn't kill a war dog. That doesn't even half kill a knight. And it's rough. So even looking at it from that standpoint of like, what realistically, what can I expect out of this? And I was very, very uncomfortable. And I know that, like, because my goal for Tacoma is to go and do well. It wasn't go do as well as I can with Drukhari. I was going to play Drukhari because I thought that out of what I owned was the best option. The goal is just go and do as well as I can. So I'm not comfortable, like, with that goal. I'm not comfortable going and saying something that used to be nearly an auto win is also very popular at big events because it's one of the easiest armies to travel with. In Imperial Knights is now something that is very hit or miss as to whether or not I can or do win that game. And then
it's a tough one.
mine specifically, with the other side of that coin, is Chaos Knights, which is an effectively, from what I've seen from a math standpoint, if they're assuming all averages and that they're not an idiot and they play the game well, for my list and even really for my army, because Drukhari just has to play MSU, it's very essentially an auto loss. It's really not something, like, it's not a game that I'm realistically winning, and I'm not comfortable going to an event of that level accepting something as strong as an auto loss for what I believe is going to be one of the top 4 most popular factions at the event. So then it was, what do I do now? What can I possibly do? And the Chaos Knight changes are something I talked about it a little bit after the event, that, like, I've thought about Chaos Knights before. I've looked at it, and I'm sure, especially from my teammates, I'm going to get meta chasing allegations, and that's whatever. It is what it is. I'm trying to do well. I'm going to play a good army.
Yeah.
But they are an army that I've looked at before and I've thought about owning. I just didn't like 13 dogs. I didn't like that playstyle, but that's not their playstyle anymore. And they are very much just like a very comfortable monster mash that isn't like, 4 models. They still have a healthy number of models. I mean, he had 6 war dogs and 3 big knights. Like, he still has, it's only 9, but like when you're looking at wounds and toughness and everything, it's an unbelievable amount of shit. And so it kind of, the Chaos Knight changes kind of fixed the problem that I personally had with the army, which was only playing dog spam and not really having that, like being an elite monster mash, not really having that much toughness, I could just play monster mash demons and be just as fine. Those problems are gone now, or those qualms that I had personally are pretty much gone. You get to play with the big knights. The big knights are good. You get to play with a healthy amount of dogs. You have sticky OC, which is absolutely insane. So all of the problems that I had with it are pretty much gone. And so then it was, all right, well, let's acquire Chaos Knights, especially before these boxes go out of stock, because while, yes, the Battle Force is 7 War Dogs and you're not playing War Dog spam anymore, you do still need them. And it's an unbelievable value. That box is $240 for 7 War Dogs. It's insane.
Oh, yeah.
So then it was, let's just acquire Chaos Knights and attempt to build and paint 9 in 2 weeks, which is like, the building is the hurdle. The painting I can do. I can get knights. I can get a knight army painted and battle ready in 2 days. Like, that's not the issue. The issue was building. I did have a Dale here in Coeur d'Alene offered to help me. He was like, I agree. I think this switch is super smart. I'm willing to help you build them. My list is done. I have nothing that I need to do. We can just sit down and try and crank out these dogs. But that's where you come in to save the day.
It turns out, folks, I have a
you do. Yeah, it's pretty sick. Yeah, it was. My list is a little bit different than Paul's. Not super different, just a little bit. It's really that I'm not bringing the Atropo, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm bringing a Tyrant. I think they're cool. They're definitely not bad. They are still toughness 12 and gained wounds. But the Tyrant in Chaos Knights also has 12-inch reinforcement denial on a Knight's base, which is pretty good.
Yeah, solid, super solid. You sure you don't want to bring?
Yeah, super solid. I have thought about it, whether or not I want to bring the Lancer over. It would essentially be over the Despoiler, because I think that the Abominate is actually really good. Yeah, it does. Which I could. I know I do want more models than that, right? Like, realistically, I could put a 4th big dog in, or a 4th big knight in, but I don't want to lose that many dogs. So
6 knights, 6 big knights, I think was probably going to wind up in at least the Shadow round, if not the top 16. Only because I know that Jaden is bringing 6 big knights. Everyone knows that Jaden is bringing 6 big knights. He's put a bunch of games into them. And I believe at this stage he is undefeated, and it's not like he plays into schmucks. He's painting them up. They're going to look amazing. But that said, the reason it's so good is because 3 A-bombs running in and running at you is everything in 9 inches of them has to. It's like takes 3 mortal, like D3 mortal wounds, right?
It's on a 3 up. They take D3 mortal wounds, yeah.
Which is most of the time. And all you have to do is
what detachment is he running?
I'm not sure. All I know is all I know is that he's crushing with them. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing that, you know, most knights have to worry about, or most players have to worry about them, and of course Imperial Knights, which is why I'm changing my list up too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm probably just going back to Gladius, and I think it's the smarter move to go back to Gladius, even with all the access to like anti-vehicle 4-up that Dark Angels has. Right. I would much rather just wound Knights on 2s with Ultramarines. Especially with access to triple Vindicator, triple Ballistus, and Gilliman and Calgar. Sure, the CP farm isn't there anymore, and you don't get the additional every turn, but I mean, I don't know what else to do into the Knight matchup, especially running into that many big ones.
Mm-hmm.
That can effectively handle it. Like, I'm sure there are players of Dark Angels who could manage it with Wrath of the Rock. I think it includes not keeping the Lion. I think it includes having a lot more, you know, Centurions, honestly. Probably 2 sets of, like, at least 1 set of 6 shooty, and then at least, honestly, maybe 2 or a set of 6 that are melee, because of the sheer amount of vehicle wounds that they could put through. And how tough they are. you could probably do considerable work. I just don't have that many ready to go, and I will not like borrow hammer and have a mismatched army. I'm proud of my scheme, and I don't want to build that many over the course of next 2 weeks. Is they're objectively one of the most painful models to paint ever. So I'm probably gonna run Gladius or Stormlance. I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know if I want to include a bunch of a couple of Predator Destructors for the Deathguard matchup, in which case the list changes a lot. Where I drop at least one Ballistus, I drop a Vindicator, I add the 2 Predators, I change a little bit more, and then that way I can also bring in a stripping cover speeder, a hammer strike, which is still really good into the night matchup for little guys. With +1 to wound, it's pretty good into big guys. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. We'll see. I'm toying around with lists. If anything, I might have to build a Predator, or just play the good old solid. I can pass your stat check, and then if I run into the wrong army, like I just might lose. But the Wrath of the Rock has too many armies that you can run into that you just might lose with when it comes down to it. So,
that's the concern, right?
Yeah. So, another, and then now, do you have anything you want to talk about in terms of your list, my list, or any questions about it?
No, I mean, I don't know. You have enough, right? Between what I have a built and painted Abominant. I have a Tyrant that is essentially done, and then I have another big knight. I have 2 big knights in box. One of them is the Ruinator kit.
Nice.
And so the list that I originally sent you is not like stone. That was just like, I know that this is good, and then move on.
Right.
There's probably other things that I could play. I don't know. You have 1 Abominant, right?
I have 1 Abominant, yeah.
Yeah, so like I could make 3 happen because I could build 1. I'm not sure, but I do know that I am playing Chaos Knights.
For sure, man. Yeah, whatever you need. The last topic I really want to breach before, and it kind of goes along with what we're talking about here. It's really going to be, and I'm just going to call it, there's always another list is what I want to say is, regardless of what the complaining that we've done this episode about Knights and where they're at and Deathguard and all that stuff, what's going on, there's always something out there that's going to work in the meta. For example, with my example of coming in back with Gladius, yes, they've been nerfed, but not that much. They're still good. And there's probably going to be drastically less Ultramarine players than there was going to be a couple months ago, which then gives you the opportunity to compete for best in faction, because there's going to be a ton of Dark Angels players. Number one, it's a very popular faction, and Wrath of the Rock is really fun to play. Sadly, it's a tough grinder army where if you just bring a bunch of the wrong stuff, you lose. And you just, I've yet to play into the night matchup with them, but I just don't see it going well unless you tech for it in a way that almost hurts playing it as Wrath of the Rock, unless you have the mass Centurions that I was talking about.
Right.
But even then.
Yeah, and like on my front, it's similar of like, I'm fully aware that Chaos Knights are not broken. They're incredibly strong.
Yes.
They're not broken. They do have multiple counters, but from my standpoint and my goal of wanting to do well, I would rather take a handful of counters and know that there will be people there who are teched against me, and it will be a difficult game. I would rather accept that than show up accepting auto losses.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's the last thing I want, is to feel like I just lose this match, because that's still it's so boring.
I can't just lose one of the most popular matchups. That's not.
Yeah, I mean, I expect a third of this event to be Knights. Honestly. So
yeah.
Another list that came up, and this is something that Wyatt brought to the GT last weekend in Ellensburg, is he brought a CSM list, and I think that a lot of people probably are sleeping on this list, and I honestly think that like there is somebody running around the variant of this list that could win Tacoma. but let's talk about it real quick. This is we have Cypher, we have, and that's the aura of -1 CP. We have 2 Lord Discordants, which the Lord Discordant data sheet, as we discussed last week, is cracked. It's so objectively good. And then Vashtor. Vashtor, for the first time since he's been out, is amazing, especially into the meta, especially into the night meta. And then also we're playing Pact Bound here. 2 sets of bikers because scoring is important, apparently. 1 cultist mob to hold home. 2 Chaos Vindicators, 2 Forge Fiends, a Hell Brute, and 3 Venom Crawlers. So he brought this list to last weekend, and he beat Nick Fromm, who's one of the best players in the world, top 200 level player, who was playing World Eaters, and he had a game into every list that he played against. Obviously, there are some people who, like, some other pro players that just kind of had the edge on him. Wyatt hasn't played 40K in a while. He's been playing a lot of 30K lately. So, and he came in and was like, and his list made everybody playing into it a little worried. So, this is one of those things out there that I think that, like, does instill some kind of faith in that. Remember, it doesn't matter what's strong. There is always an answer, always. So, yeah, this detachment deals a ton of mortals, and it's really good into vehicles. Like, you could just one tap a big knight.
Yep. Yeah, it's good.
Get out there, guys, and find, like, and this is something that I've been kind of working with a team I'm working with. It's a lot of comfort is really important, and if you're comfortable with an army, just play what you're comfortable with more than anything else. Yes, you can meta chase, sure, absolutely, or play what you know, and know that, and trust the numbers that you have at your fingertips or in your brain from playing those things, and know that you can take it into event and be like, yes, this will work, and people don't expect this list.
Right. Yeah. And realistically, I can still do that with Drukhari. It's
just harder. It doesn't need to be
just
that
harder.
hard.
And I know where I'm at in my head, and it's not the right choice. Not for me. Not right now.
When you're playing an 8-game tournament, having a smaller, more effective army, a simpler army, is generally going to just pay dividends, because you're spending so much less time thinking about a bunch of little units doing things and spending so much more time thinking about, of my 10, 12 units, I go boom, 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 done, rather than worrying about 20 things over 8 rounds. That's crazy.
Right.
Anyway, any other lists that you've seen creeping up that you want to bring up?
I don't know, man. I will say, especially, and that, again, we already mentioned accepting the fact that counters exist. So Votann are considerably more concerning if going with Chaos Knights than going with Drukhari.
Yes.
But that's okay. There's not that many Votann players. So
that's true. We do have a really good one in Andrew Johnson.
We do have a really good one. But I'm going to be honest with you, I think I probably still lose that game if I play Drukhari.
That's
so
totally fair. So there are, also, I guess a concern that I have if I bring Ultramarines is T-Suns. Like, I'm terrified of T-Suns if I'm playing Ultramarines.
Right.
Because they just kill my army without me even, like, rolling a save. They just, like, oh, we're going to Dev Wound turn, you just die. Like, okay. So
yeah, so you're hoping to dodge them in. Really, you need to dodge them in the first 4 rounds, and then you get in your top bracket, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's it. I just have to win out my first 3 rounds at Tacoma, where some of the best players in the entirety of the Western United States will be. And I'll be fine. No problem.
Easy.
On lock.
Done.
I wonder if I could
Locked
build
in.
6 melee Centurions and have them painted by the time Tacoma hits.
Yeah, I mean, we're 16 days, right?
Yeah, it's no problem. I'll just, take a day on the weekend to do it. It'll be fine.
That's fine.
It's
you can
not
do
a
that.
holiday weekend.
It's not. It is. It is.
It's definitely a holiday weekend, and I'm very busy. I don't think it's possible, but
yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess are any of them built? Do you have any number of them built?
no. But
Okay.
I do have 2 boxes of them
Okay.
in shrink wrap. One is at Drew's house that he found in his closet.
Nice.
Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. Let's go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you all so much for being here. If you want more of me, you can find me all day 40K on TikTok. Where do they find you, Joey?
Again, you can find me on Instagram. It's Bettingfield Painting.
Excellent. Again, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate the fact that you have sat through us talking for this long.
Yes.
And if you want more, leave some comments, share with your friends, let the people know that we are at least interesting to talk to. And for those of you who do see us, hear us, and talk to come and talk to us at events, it's because there was a guy over at Ellensburg this weekend. He was like, "Hey man, I like your podcast. Thank you so much." I was like, "Yes, thank you."
That's awesome.
I love hearing it. Joey loves hearing it. And it only and you know what? We want your suggestions. We really do. If there's anything you want to hear about, like, hey, this is a thing that is bothering me, or you guys are super wrong about this, we'd love to discuss it on the.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time on the Up. Have a good one.
See you around.